welcome to the stage the co-founder and director of ARE and your MC for the event, Ori Inbar.
All right, that's enough. Welcome, everybody. Good to have you with us here in Santa Clara and at home. Yes, ARE is streaming live for the first time this year. Folks, it has been a great year for augmented reality. Dozens of new companies, hundreds of new products in the market, and of course, Google Glass. So here we are at ARE2012, where everything comes together, where you can feel it, can touch it, can talk about it. Join me, first of all, in thanking our speakers, all 100 of you guys. Thanks very much for coming. Many thanks to our keynote speakers and distinguished guests we'll have throughout the conference. Can thank him more. Folks, ARE is a non-profit organization with the purpose to help advance the augmented reality industry. And we couldn't have put it together without your support.
Boredom's a really big opportunity for brands and for augmented reality. You're spending time with families and friends. Okay, maybe not there. You're actually in the bathroom. Half the time, they're in the half the respondents are using it in the bathroom. And I know people usually snicker a little bit at that. Annenberg has been doing a longitudinal study on people, and they say a fair amount of that is actually toilet seat down. So it's an escape medium as well. So anyway, I don't know why that seems to like resonate with people. All right, solo mode by the numbers, shipments of smartphones, tablets, you guys all know, past desktops and laptops. U.S. mobile search grew 4 times last year, so the whole area of search is a massive opportunity here. Google's forecasted 2.3 billion in 2011, and 1 in 3 searches are local. It converts like crazy, 61% actually call and 59% visit after searching on a location. So imagine that conversion when it isn't actually going to, but you're actually at the space of. And then 70% have actually purchased as a result of using their smartphone. For the brand challenge, one challenge that we're having is that it feels like augmented reality and solo mo, which I'm kind of munging them together a little bit because of that very specific kind of opportunity, the intimacy that comes from solo mo. There's big ideas hiding underneath the surface there. And what's exciting about that is a lot of big agencies and a lot of big brands just don't see the potential that's hiding underneath their metadata. It just isn't obvious to them. And I like to say there's a Valley axiom that the next great startup sits just beneath the contempt of Google and Facebook. And there's the same thing for augmented reality. The next great brand idea sits just beneath the contempt of every creative director and strategist out there and media buyer out there. So the big idea, for Lenovo, we actually had to work with a Saatchi idea that was about somewhere between people who think differently and the rest of the PC market. Lenovo wanted to carve a place for people who do. And so the makers of the world. So we had to actually put that idea through the funnel of 5 different countries, 100 different languages, probably including Klingon. We had to put it through different devices, and we said, so how does an idea actually contort to that? So we believe that there's some really big ideas there. What we created for them was the Do Network. We basically user-generated content in each of those locations as a way of developing a very localized campaign that resonated. By the way, the brand metrics, not surprisingly, when you have this level of engagement, we're off the charts. We saw anywhere from a 200 to 300% increase in everything from consideration to purchase intent in each market we were in. I do want to just offer this. Whenever I'm in a room of developers and marketers, I ask everybody to take a lot of responsibility for the privacy issue. It's got to be a well-lit place. There's a lot of cheap tricks you can do, like the pop-unders and any number of things that we did in Web 1.0 and 2.0, but we really want to recommend that this stays in a well-lit place because otherwise it's going to be regulated out from underneath us. All right, without that downer. Let's talk about what big brands are doing. Okay, I don't know, everybody seen this Red Bull augmented reality thing? Did you guys see this? Hands up. All right, so what you had to do is you had to buy a 12-pack or a 4-pack. So if it isn't the brand guys, at least the finance guys who are writing the checks love this. Because if you actually have to buy something or you're at point of sale, they love it because it's this last mile thing. So what you had to do is you had to buy a bunch of Red Bull cans, and then you would scan them with your phone. You had to download the app too. And so it was a huge barrier to actually make it down. And then you had to lay out the cans. And then after you did that, you had to wait about 20 seconds. It would render your track, and then you could play it. And then you could issue challenges. I don't know about you, but I can't even stand waiting for a search result for 20 seconds. So I'm looking at this going, there's no way it's going to work. I like Kevin Doohan, the director of digital. He won't give you hard metrics, but he says, we sold a buttload of Red Bull. So there's your ROI there. But even more than selling a lot of product, what he was really excited about was the level of engagement and the level of commitment people were doing, even with that high bar, to install and to talk about and play with it. Here's another small idea coming out of Solomo and augmented reality. In the next couple of weeks, anybody ever had Le Chouffe, the beer? All right, well, it's actually a big beer, but it's got a small icon, a gnome on it. And so we came up with this idea to actually have the world's smallest toast. So you'll be able to go to a bar, get these wee little glasses to have the smallest toast. We're doing the world's smallest media buyer around it, which is probably a penny. And we're also, in the bars, going to allow you to augment over it and see the wee gnomes toast you. So it's kind of fun that, you can actually deliver, real brand ideas that have the relevance of locality and the relevance of socialness right there, and it's built into the idea. Don't know if you've seen Pepsi Loot. Pepsi Loot was really a CRM program, incredibly complex. Part of the issue that we're having in augmented reality and any geolocation business is that the databases and the data sets are still too fragmented. It's incredibly nascent to get to scale. But one of the things that Pepsi's been doing is not just using it to get people to do points, but also to start using the back-end analytics to say, hey, what markets are our strongest markets based on device, based on what people are resonating for. So let's get back to the X factor and saying, what does it have to do with the X factor? When you saw a Pepsi product, let's take it back to the product again, and you held up your phone to that Pepsi product, you could actually snap a picture, send it in by email, and you could easily unlock more content for the X factor. So the extended value using that's not augmented reality per se, but it's where it's going. The cool thing about it was it wasn't an ugly QR code. It wasn't an ugly 2D thing. They actually used 3D rendering. So they're using smarter technology to do the image input. And they're doing a better job of starting to connect with the apps that are on the device that consumers are already using. Think about teens using texting and emailing. So what you got to do is you got to unlock more of what you loved and what you were engaged with. So this idea of unlocking greater value, I mean, everybody read the numbers. They're spending $60 million, a $6 million commitment on this. This is massive. I mean, a Super Bowl spot costs, it's in the neighborhood of $3 million now. So my question to you guys is, how are you going to unlock Super Bowl value from big brands? That might be a great place for this to go. The X Factor then had, we talked about the way that they could be a sponsor or they can actually start curating content or creating content. They're starting to create media around this. They have the Pulse out there that's really just for the super insider, super passionate people around X Factor, where they're unlocking them, unlocking votes about, I think Simon's hilarious, I think Nicola's a hottie, and what they're starting to do is turn those tweets from metadata into emotions. That's pretty cool, right? It's starting to get into that emotional layer. It's starting to add more value, and they're going from simply being a sponsor to having a greater extension of engagement. So I asked you, what does it have to do with the Super Bowl? I don't know if you saw, but at the end of the Super Bowl, there was a spot with Elton John. So the Queens, we talked about the King of Pop, the Queens of Pop were there. And it was wonderful because it was almost like he was handing over the baton to the new X Factor star coming up, right? Wonderful sense of parody, a wonderful looking back, a wonderful joining of generations, but a great joining of also different channels that the consumer's interacting with them on. So my question is when is a brand going to make an augmented reality ad, a Super Bowl ad about augmented reality? And when it does that, when the idea gets that big and that resonant, I think we'll have made the shift into the aha factor when all brands will say we need to have AR as part of our core go-to-market strategy. With that, I promised you a couple of challenges. So we're having a big brand hackathon. If you really want to see how big brands think, we're having a big brand hackathon June 16th and 17th up at the Convention Center. Follow me on at Mark Silva, or ping me for in the back there during the breakout if you want to join us. Thanks so much for your time.
Our next keynote speaker is Miles Ludwig, Vice President of Digital Group at Sesame Workshop. He oversees creative and production for interactive and digital initiatives and has led the design and development of the interactive educational experiences for every single significant technology-based platform of the last 15 years, including product lines for Mattel, VTech, Hasbro, Electronic Arts, Scholastic, Nintendo, and Sony. Please welcome to the stage Miles Ludwig.
My video didn't go, and the timing was so good. 1 second. Let's see if I can make this work. Here we go.
I like it. But we ought to say something about the show, telling it like it is. Maybe the nitty-gritty little kitty show.
You know, I like that. Well, then how about the itty-bitty, nitty-gritty little kitty show? Hey, these kids can't read or write, can they?
No.
Then how's about we call the show Hey Stupid?
How do we take that? A few more phrases. You really think you're going to get this show on the air?
Introducing a new television series for children.
Look right in there, Bert.
In there?
See right in there? Yeah, look a little closer.
12. See, it's for Cookie. That's good enough for me.
Rubber ducky, you're the one.
Doing the pigeon over and under and through.
I'm the king of 8, and I'm here to state that everything here has to total 8.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The ladybugs came to the ladybugs picnic.
Have a rotten day.
Yeah, wow. This was my kind of guy.
So there it is, the inception of a big brand. For better or worse, I think Sesame Street is a big brand, but we're also a non-profit. Good morning. Thank you for coming. So in 1966, one of our co-founders, Joan Gans Cooney, put together this report for the Carnegie Foundation, in which she suggested that television, then a new form, a new medium, an area of great innovation, in fact, might be used for good, might be used to educate children, a radical and innovative idea at the time. And her central insight was that when children are consuming media of any type, they are learning. It's not a question of if they're learning, it's what are they learning. And is it possible for us to give them something positive that's going to put them in better stead for the rest of their lives. And also that if we can hold children's attention, then we can teach them something. And that's in part what brings me here today. My role in the organization right at the moment is to lead a team that thinks about emerging technology and platforms, devices that children and their parents are using, and tries to get out in front of those technologies and create new kinds of educational content experiences that are going to help us do our work. And to some extent, I think it's true that the organization that Joan and Lloyd and of course Jim Henson created in 1969 was in some ways entrepreneurial, was even a little bit like the lean startup that we talk about today. It was iterative, it was experimental. We still talk about every season as now this fall, our 43rd experimental season. And perhaps one manifestation of this is probably familiar to all of you from the first season, but note that Oscar is orange. So, we really did we kind of waterfalled that. So this is one of the ways of talking about what a success it's been, 82 million graduates just in the US to date. And we've expanded across the globe. We're in 150 countries, and in more than 30 of those countries we have unique co-productions where we're not just exporting our domestic program, but in fact working to address local needs with local producers, local educational experts, and creating really an altogether different show. And you can see most of these are those kinds of unique co-productions. We often focus on local concerns. So for example, in South Africa, some of you probably remember it was quite controversial at the time. We have a Muppet character who's HIV positive. In Egypt, we're focusing on girls' education. In places like Israel and Palestine, and in Kosovo and Northern Ireland, we work on conflict resolution and mutual respect and understanding. So we're really exporting our model, and our model is to work together as researchers, producers, educators, and create something that is specifically targeted to the needs of local children. It's not about exporting our brand. But of course we have grown the brand, and over the years it's expanded, and now our reach is such that we're working really in sort of every area of the culture and trying to use every available media platform to do our work. Our mission, essentially the same as it was in 1969, helping all children reach their highest potential. And we still do it essentially the same way, which is, as far as I know, fairly unique to us. We're research-driven. We start with a particular need, and those needs have expanded over the years. The curriculum never gets smaller; it only gets larger. So, we've added STEM learning and executive functioning and self-regulation recently, and we work with educational experts and advisors. We set a list of objectives, and then we go into a production mode. You can see there's a lot of back and forth where there's 2 arrows down there, and that's where it gets really challenging, is when we have incredibly talented performers and writers and developers working with the educational experts to make sure that we're actually delivering on the mission and the entertainment. And then we have to get it out there, get it in front of kids, evaluate it, and hopefully make it better. The question that Joan asked in the 60s, what are children learning as they consume media? It's just as relevant today, and particularly it's relevant with respect to all of these digital technologies. That's been my area of focus at the organization. Kids are enormously attracted to technology, and recent innovations like touchscreen are incredibly intuitive for children, as I'm sure those of you who've put kids in front of an iPad have seen. In fact, they're more intuitive than they are for adults in many cases. So how do we take advantage of that and use it in our work? And of course, this is leading up to how augmented reality becomes relevant for us. Jerry Lesser, one of our advisors, made an early observation that we really are going to be most effective when we're woven into the fabric of kids' whole life, their whole day. And so we've been using this strategy for the last 10 years or so, trying to think about how can we fit into the life of a preschooler. How can we introduce a vocabulary word perhaps on the show in the morning, and then bring that through materials for teachers into a preschool classroom experience, follow up on the web, have printable activity sheets for mom to have in the car, follow through with a podcast that maybe mom gives her child while they're in the grocery store, and and kind of wrap it all up. We know that kids learn a lot more when there's this kind of deep engagement. And in order to do that, obviously, we need to be partnered with a whole lot of best-in-breed, world-class organizations to help us develop that content, do it in an innovative way, and get it out there into the world. Another thing that we do, this just sort of hones in on the incredibly successful and utterly necessary topic of potty time, and it is in fact one of our most important and popular areas. And so you can see here how we, they call this transmedia now. We try to actually bring the content, the learning, the laughter to a wide variety of platforms at once, and that seems to actually really expand our educational impact. In terms of digital and gaming and interactive media, the workshop actually started making games in '81. Realized early on that there were certain kinds of curricular topics, educational topics, that you could much more effectively address with interactivity and gaming, and already was working with Atari and IBM all the way back in the '80s. Our approach is really summed up here. There are three questions. What are the needs of children and how can media address them? On which media platforms will children learn now and in the future? And how do we devise engaging content for those platforms? So a couple of years ago, we started asking that question and seeing that augmented reality was part of the answer. It's obviously moving towards ubiquity in a number of different ways. And in a number of different projects, we've been focused on creating new kinds of content experiences, new kinds of applications that capitalize on the amazing work that you all are doing and hopefully bring something positive and educational to children. Just quickly, I'll touch on two of those projects. Working with Microsoft and Connect, we're creating a experience that will actually be out in the retail marketplace this fall called Sesame Street Connect TV. And one component of that, Elmo's World, has always been, generally been one of the most engaging segments on our show for about 15 years now. And in this experience, we use the Kinect camera to place kids within the context of Elmo's World. Now, I don't actually know that this is augmented reality. I sort of feel as if there's a terminology problem here, because, I mean, really, if augmented reality is the superimposition of virtual data onto reality, I almost feel as if we should make a distinction here when we're talking about taking the user and placing them within a virtual environment. It would be helpful maybe to make that distinction, but for the time being, everyone around me seems to be calling it Elmo's World AR, and so I'll roll with that. It's enormously engaging for kids. Of course, when they see themselves on TV, it gets them up and interested, and that's fabulous, just to create that initial engagement. But it also allows us to do a different kind of learning, embodied learning, so that if you're exploring a topic or a particular vocabulary word and you're doing so by moving your body, there's some research that shows that you actually learn those concepts in a deeper way. And then, as we'll be talking about this afternoon, for about a year we've been working with Qualcomm using the Vuforia engine on a new kind of play storytelling experience. It is based on the old concept of the play set, or you might even think of it like a dollhouse, where there are physical objects, Sesame Street characters, pieces of furniture, that can be manipulated physically, just as one might play with a dollhouse. But then when you actually look through a tablet, all of those figures have been tagged, and they come to life, and they animate, and they start asking you questions, and they start asking for your help with some education related topics. So I hope you'll come and see us talk a little bit more. I'll be doing a demo, and one of my colleagues will be presenting some of the research that we've done on this work with Qualcomm, and we're doing that at 4:10 this afternoon. I'll leave you with another video. So as some of you may know, Telly Monster is a big fan of pogo sticks. And one day, a salesman shows up on Sesame Street, a kind of a big brand kind of guy, and he starts explaining to Telly and some of Telly's friends that there's a new pogo stick, the iPogo, and not only is this the best pogo stick ever made, I mean, why in the world wouldn't you want it? But you know, it does just about everything. And so here's a little song and dance in which he's explaining the functions of the iPogo. Wow. Let me just try that again. I obviously didn't click on the right thing. Here we go.
Yes, my friends, the iPogo can do anything.
Anything?
Oh, yeah. If you want to comb your cat, there's an app for that. If you have to fix a flat, there's an app for that. Need a word that rhymes with gnat?
Nat, brat, fat, bat.
Or a place to hang your hat? Got a chimp who likes to chat? There's an app, there's an app, there's an app for that. If your butter needs a pat, there's an app for that. If you need to rat-a-tat-tat,
There's an app for that.
gotta practice singing scat.
Billy-dee-dop-de-dop-de-dop.
Wanna meet a boy named Matt?
Hi, I'm Matt. Nice to meet you.
Count to 10 in no time flat.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
There's an app, there's an app, there's an app for that.
Thanks.
Breakout sessions will start at 10 a.m. in about 15 minutes. Please make your way to the ground floor and follow signs near the registration area to one of the 3 tracks: business, technology, or production. And don't miss the art gala in the exhibition area starting at 5 p.m. this evening for a reception with drinks and complimentary food. We'll meet here afterward for the Augies, the best AR demo competition at 6:30 p.m. Enjoy the day.